Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome finally to another episode Jash Reads. Tonight we are reading Animorphs number 10, The Android by K.A. Applegate. And yeah, it's it has been a while. So for anyone who didn't watch the update video I did a while back, the reason why I haven't been filming lately for the past few weeks is because my AC unit, once it was fixed, it leaked and the floor needed to be repaired. That wouldn't be so bad, but my AC is right by the computer. Like, it's just like right, you can't see it, but it's like really close there. So, because the floor was being worked on, I couldn't just film. I couldn't really come in here. I couldn't use the computer at all. And then after, the floor was repaired, then we get to the second part of the adventure. Well, probably technically third part, but never mind. But then a cable that for the computer had actually been ruined while the floor was being repaired. So then we had to wait a few days for the cable to come in and then, to do that. So first time in a long time I was able to get on the computer was last night. And instead of doing any of my blog projects, I started outlining for a series, a book series. Very short, but yeah, you can check out my blog, jashikins.blogspot.com. I made a very short post about it, so check that out. Anyways, let's get started. I just noticing like my hair right there. I don't brush my hair, but it hardly comes to my mind that I do. It's hardly as noticeable, I think. Okay, let's get to happy book series. Yay! God damn it. We had decided to meet with Erek at his house. We had not decided to trust him completely. Jake, Cassie, Axe, and I were going to the meeting. Rachel and Tobias stayed outside as backup. Rachel was all primed to use her grizzly bear morph if we called for help. I'll be within range of Axe's thought speak, she said for the 10th time. I can morph my bear in a minute and go through that door about 10 seconds later. If you do that, try not to stomp over me in the process, okay? I said. I glanced up and saw Tobias swooping down to settle in the tree in Erek's yard. I could joke about it, but the truth was, it did feel reassuring to know Rachel and Tobias were ready to be the cavalry. We went up to the front door of the very ordinary looking house. I sent Jake a look that said, "Man, I hope we're right about this." But Jake was busy exchanging solemn glances with Cassie. So, someone knock on the door? I said. I glanced at Axe. He was in his human morph. His human morph is made up of DNA gathered at the same time from all of us except Tobias. There's some of Jake and Rachel and Cassie and me in Axe's human shape. And the end result, he's male, but almost as pretty as a girl. Plus, he's annoying in human morph. Knock? Knock on the door? Why? Knock-on, knock-ka. Andalites don't have mouths, and Axe can't give her. I am sorry. I have let you down. Let's start that paragraph over again. This is great. Hey, first video in a few weeks. Let me mess up quickly. That's how it is. Andalites don't have mouths, and Axe can't get over how fun it is to make actual sounds. Plus, you don't even want the boy in the same room with certain foods. Jake knocked. The door opened. I was surprised. It wasn't Erek. It was his father, Mr. King. He nodded. Come in. We stepped inside. I felt completely dorky. It was like we were coming over to ask if Erek could come out and play. I mean, the house looked so normal inside. Normal furniture and normal lights and normal dishes displayed in a hutch. A normal TV on mute, showing pictures from CNN. There were 2 dogs, a Labrador mix and a fat little terrier. The lab just lolled over on its back. The terrier came running over to sniff our shoes. Is Erek here? I asked. Mr. King nodded. Yes. Would you like a soda or anything? No thanks, Mr. King, Cassie said. She bent over to scratch behind the terrier's ears. You like dogs? Mr. King asked. She likes any animal, I answered. She even likes skunks. But dogs! Do you like dogs? Cassie smiled. If reincarnation were real, I'd want to come back as a dog. Mr. King smiled, nodding as if Cassie had just said something profound. Would you all come with me? He turned and led the way toward the kitchen. Once again, the total normalcy of it seemed jarring. There were little post-it notes on the refrigerator saying things like dozen eggs, bell peppers. Someone had left a box of Wheaties out on the counter. Mr. King opened a door. It led down to the basement. We followed him down the narrow wooden steps. At this point, I started to wonder. I noticed that Axe was morphing slowly out of his human shape, returning to Andalite form a little at a time. Good old Axe. He sensed danger and he wanted his tail available. I wanted his tail available too. Mr. King paused when we all got down to the basement. He watched with absolutely no surprise as Axe finished transforming. He waited politely for Axe to be done. Then, to my utter amazement, I felt a slight dropping sensation. It took a few seconds to realize what was happening. The basement was dropping like an elevator. When I looked up, I couldn't see a roof overhead, just darkness. Whoa, Cassie commented. Don't be afraid, Mr. King said. It didn't last long. We may have dropped 4 or 5 floors. At least that's what it felt like to me. Then, with a slight lurch, the basement/elevator stopped. Is this the floor for men's clothing? I asked. I was almost not surprised when one entire wall of the basement, hung with tools and garden hose and a rake and hoe, simply disappeared. Where the wall had been was now a hallway lit with a golden light. My basement won't do this, I muttered to Jake. Have you ever tried? He asked. This way, Mr. King said. We followed him. It was way too late to start worrying now. The hallway wasn't long, just 50 feet or so. It reached a dead end, a blank wall. But then that wall, too, disappeared. Yeah! No way. Strange. This is just a hologram, right? I said. But somehow I knew it wasn't. It was real. Unbelievable, yet real. What was beyond the hallway was a vast, vast chamber lit in glowing gold light, soft and buttery warm. I stepped out of the hallway onto springy grass, and over my head, maybe 100 feet up, there was a glowing orb, like a sun. That's where the yellow light came from. Stretched out before us for more than the length of a football field was a sort of park. Trees, grass, streams, flowers, butterflies flying around jerkily, bees buzzing from flower to flower, squirrels racing up and down the trees. Walking here and there were androids. Androids in their natural form, machines made of steel and something white. The androids had mouths that were almost like muzzles, clumsy looking legs, and stubby fingers. But it wasn't the presence of half dozen or so androids that was really shocking. What was really shocking was that there were hundreds, maybe even 1,000 dogs. Normal, everyday Earth dogs, every breed and half breed you can imagine, running in packs, yipping, yapping, bow wowing, howling, growling, roughing dogs. They were chasing squirrels, smelling each other, and generally having a great old dog time. Jake, Cassie, and I stood there with our jaws hanging open like complete idiots. If Axe had possessed a mouth, his would have been hanging open too. It was doggy heaven. Dogs and robots in a huge underground park. One of the robots came trotting toward us. As it got near, a hologram shimmered around it. A second later, it was Erek. Welcome, he said. I guess you're probably a little surprised. And that's the end of the chapter. Yay! Okay. I'm just checking something, so hang on one moment. Okay, so, yeah, the Animorphs went to meet Erek. And as a Floridian, I'm just going to say that going below a house like that, I mean, there aren't really any basements in Florida. So to read a book where it's like 5 floors down, it's like, wow, yeah. I can't believe when this series came out, I was like, yeah, this could take place in Florida. We have mountains. We have mountains, we have, enough room under a house to, go 5 floors down. But in my defense, I was a kid, and a lot of kids that grew up with Animorphs also thought it was their home state, a lot of them. So, yeah. And if you're wondering why Floridians don't have wonderful, wonderful basements, it's because the ground here does not support it. The ground is. I think I've only been to one house that has sort of a basement, but that was a more well-to-do family, not completely rich, but yeah, definitely a little pricier than most people's houses. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so not really that much to talk about. I admit when I did read this chapter, I gave, Mark a little more feelings towards Axe than the character actually does in canon. But let's see. So yeah, I love reading these books as adults gives a very different perspective. I mean, these kids are walking into a possible trap, and so it's like, yay, Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. About going to, hey, these people say they're our allies. Well, we can't really trust them at the moment. I'd probably prefer to be the backup, just because I don't know how calmly I could react to, are these people going to kill me? I have a very strong flight or fight reflex, and I don't know how I'd work with that there. So I guess there are going to be 2 questions for today's video. First off, if you are in the Animorph situation and these people had said, hey, yeah, we're on your side, and just come over and meet us, would you want to be one of the people that went into the house? Or would you prefer to be backup? Please comment down below. Also, Cassie said in this chapter that if she were to be reincarnated, she'd like to be reincarnated as a dog. If you could choose an animal to be reincarnated into for the next life, what animal would you choose? And also, please comment below not just with which animal, but why. I'd really love to know. And comment below with anything else you thought about this chapter. Let's start a nerdy conversation, but remember, no major spoilers. There are some major twists and turns in this series that makes you look back at past books in a whole different light. So, first time getting through the series, you really should do it not knowing what to expect. And sorry, I just sort of noticed that I might need to adjust the camera a little. I think it has a little different angle than it had been in the past, but never mind. And if you did like this video, especially if you would like to be reincarnated as a dog, please like this video. And if you want to check out the book for yourself, I have a link wherever I post this video to Animorphs number 10 and where you can buy it. Also, remember to subscribe. I am going to be reading the entire Animorphs series, so you won't want to miss a thing. And I do more than just the Animorphs dramatic readings. I also do an Aragon dramatic reading. I do mini reviews and full-length reviews, and I probably could have gotten out the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review that I've been working on, like, this week, but I couldn't get to the computer, so it's really killing me. I basically have probably 1 to 2 days work on the review, and then I'll be ready to film it. It's just maddening. Like, I everything that slowed me down so I couldn't get into the computer room started right when I was just right at the end of that review, and basically I'll be working on 2 reviews. Never mind. Never mind this behind the scenes drama. But anyways, I hope you are staying safe. You're doing as well as possible. And remember, if you're going out, which you should only do when you absolutely have to, wear a mask. I have asthma. I can wear the mask. It's about trying to control this virus, and it's a very simple thing, and there's different kinds of masks you can wear. I think I'll show you my mask next video, whatever that ends up being. So, and until next video, stay safe, and hopefully it'll be sooner than 2 weeks. Bye.